Bonjour, Kinamagi and Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's episode, Chapter 5, Lesson 6, Add Decimals. As we prepare this lesson, if you have the Chapter 5, Lesson 6, Add Decimals available, you should have it out and ready. It is page number 335 and was in the most recent Wednesday packets. If you need to pause the video to get that, feel free to do such. Also, it is expected that you fill in the paper as we go through the lesson. So even if you're watching this via YouTube, you can pause the video if you need me to slow down, write things in, and then go ahead and push play and keep going forward. That way you get to control the speed of the lesson. Submissions can be either by the upcoming packet or paper exchange, or we have a Dropbox at SCA, or, and probably the easiest is do the paper, work on the paper, and then type in the answers using the Google form located in your Google Classroom. That is the quickest way to get to me. Our essential question in this chapter: how can I use place value and properties to add and subtract decimals? So what mathematical tools could you use to add decimals? You could use a paper and pencil. You could use a calculator, a smartphone, an abacus. You could draw pictures. There's a lot of tools that you could use. You could do number lines. You probably wouldn't. You could draw boxes like we did yesterday. You could even use base 10 blocks. Some of these tools will be better than others. So Hatal weighs 85.4 pounds. She is carrying a bucket of water that weighs 7.9 pounds. How much does she weigh while holding the bucket? This is one of those problems that is not in your book. And just to make things a little easier on the numbers, I'm going to bring out the next slide here. In 85.4, 8 represents 8 in the tens place, which is 80, 5 in the ones place, 4 in the tens. The bucket is 7.9, so you see the 7 in the ones and the 9 in the tens. They went ahead and next to 0, although in all honesty, if you didn't, it shouldn't mess with your answer. So when you add 4 and 9, you get 13. So you put a 3 there and you regroup a 1. So when you go 5 and 7 is 12 plus 1 is 13. You can't put 13 in this box, so you put a 3. You keep 3 and you take 10 of those and regroup it as one group of 10. 1 and 8 and 0 is 9. So she would weigh 93.3 pounds. One of the things I hope you notice is that they're very neatly lined up. Our decimal points are lined up. And if anything from this slide, that's going to be the important part. If you have your numbers where you have your, let's grab my annotation tool for an example. If I did 85.4 plus 7.9, I got a 9, I got an 11. Oh, there's a decimal point. I got a 6, and I got 86. Suddenly I have it wrong. Your decimal points must line up. Otherwise, you will get it wrong in way too many cases. Trust me, been there, done it. Didn't write neatly. Got it wrong. Learn to write neatly. All right, so Pedro's performing an experiment using 68 and 800 grams of phosphorus. Nadia is using 29.34 grams of phosphorus. How many grams of phosphorus are they using in all? So you notice they line up the decimal points. And beyond that, everything else is regular addition. So don't let it trick you. So 8 and 4 is 12. We put a 2, we regroup the 1. If you're a parent at home, you're like, regroup, huh? We call that carrying back in the day. 0 plus 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 plus 9 is 12. I put the 2, I regroup the 1. 1 and 6 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So they use 92.42 grams of phosphorus. Well, granted, the decimal point should be down here in a number and it doesn't float up. It's just an effect of the slide. But notice they kept everything neatly lined up. That's uber important and not just like the wannabe taxi company. So let's go ahead and get in our book on page 335, where it says Math in My World, Example Basic, for example 1. Remember, you are expected to fill this in as we go. And our first problem is Mr. Jacobson uses a digital scale to measure 44.2 milligrams of sodium for a chemistry experiment. During the second experiment, he used 33.1 milligrams of sodium. What is the total amount of sodium used? Let's get my annotation tool. I'll use the text so it'll be neater. I can estimate 44 plus 33 is 77. Our answer should be in that neighborhood. Now they line up the decimal points. That's step 1, period. And then I add the digits in the same place value positions. If that's like Mr. Ireland, is that different? No, it's the same thing you do with adding without decimal points. We just now have a decimal point in here. 2 and 1 is 3. 4 and 3 is 7. 4 and 3 is, well, 7 again. Lucky sevens. And we get 77.3 milligrams. Is that pretty close to 77? Yeah, I would definitely say such. Go ahead and make sure you write this in, and then I'll go on through this slide here. This will cover the bottom part of it too. So the total amount was 77.3. Compared to the estimate of 77. 77.3 is pretty close to 77. Go ahead and write all that in, and that's at the bottom of page 335. Give you about 15 or 20 seconds, and then we'll move on. All right, let's go on to the top of 336. An example niche. We have 19.6 plus 4.31. And there's a note at the top of your page that you can annex a 0 to one of the numbers in addition problem so that both numbers end in the same place value. So when we wrote out 19.6 and 4.31, in order to not get confused with that one, I could add a 0 to the end. So now I have 19.60, which is 19 and 6/10 is equivalent to 19 and 60 hundredths, and then 4.31. I'm going to go ahead and get my annotation tool out here. They did estimate 20 plus 4 is 24. Remember to fill this in as we go. They've lined up all the decimal points. They added that 0 in here so that there's the same number. And that will avoid some confusion, especially at the 5th grade level. 0 plus 1 is 1. 6 plus 3 is 9. 19 plus 4 is 13. But I can't put 13 in one box. So I'm going to regroup a 1 over here. 1 plus 1 is 2. 23.91. Make sure you're writing this in as well. Compared to the estimate, which was 24. And 23.91 is pretty close to 24. Go ahead and make sure this is all filled in. Key details, you can add a 0 to the end in the decimal because it doesn't change the place value because it's on the right side of the decimal. Your decimal points are lined up so that you have your hundredths, your tenths, your ones, and your tens. Notice I said tens, not tenths, because tens is over here, tenths is over here. All right, if you need any more time, feel free to pause the video and then hit play when you're ready. Otherwise, we're going to move on by clearing the directions. Apologize for the barking dog. Next, we'll move to the guided practice. As we go through each, I want you to kind of tell me what number you think. And obviously, because I can't hear you, we will just hope that you get it right. Here, actually, let's move this slightly down. You'll notice that a lot of these problems, they check for reasonableness. Realistically, yes, you're comparing your answer or your sum, which is the answer to an addition problem, to your estimate. This is something that as you go further in your life, you will probably do in your head. I have 6 plus 1 is what? You're right, 7. So now I have to add 6 plus 2 is good. 3 plus 4 is good. 6 plus 1 is good. We got 7.78. And is 7.78 close to 7? I would say it's close enough, yeah. Now we got another one, 89 hundredths and 3 hundredths. Notice the decimal points are lined up. This is close to 1, this is close to nothing. So our answer should be around the area of 1. We add 9 and 3 is 12. So I put a 12 in there. Just kidding. Put a 2 and you're going to regroup the 1. For once it was being just kidding on that one. 1 plus 8 is 9. And 0 and 0 is 0. You'll notice that some students will write this as 0.92. Some will write it as 0.92. At this level of comfort, I recommend putting the 0 at the beginning so that you're sure that you know that you have 0 in the ones place, 9 in the tenths, and 2 in the hundredths. As you get a little bit older, more than likely, you will adapt it. Make sure these are all written in. If you need to pause the video to do that, feel free to do such. Otherwise, we're going to move on by clearing up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Clear all drawings. All right, let's move into some practice ones, starting at number 3. You'll notice in some cases, they have differing lengths, and you'll need to annex a 0. Over here, you'll notice there's no decimal point. Decimal points should be assumed to be after the last whole number. So you could add 0.00 to this. But I'd like you to do the top row, 3, 4, and 5. And we'll see how you do. You may pause the video now and hit play when you're ready. Welcome back. Let's see what we got here for us. 0.54 plus 7.80. 4 and 0 is 4. 5 and 8 is 13. Put a 3, regroup the 1. 1 plus 0 plus 7 is 8. 0 plus 6 is 6. 8 plus 2 is 10. So I put a 0. I regroup a 1. 1, 4, and 0 is 5. 1 and 1 is 2. Over here was the one where I said, put another decimal point, and then you put your 0, 0. And I'll show this 0 here too, and this 0 here as well. So 0 and 6 is 6. 0 and 4 is 4. 5 and 8 is 13. Put the 3, regroup a 1. 1 and 2 is 3. You might say, Mr. I, over here, I could just say 25 plus 8 and add the 46. You're right. As you do these in your head, you probably could. At this point, make sure you've taken a moment to compare your answers. Let's look at the homework. On these ones, you're going to add, check for reasonableness, and you could write out your estimate. You could also do it in your head. This one, we're not rounding, though. Remember to get an exact answer. And you have these problems here going to number 8. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at mireland@psychchipschool.net. You may visit us during office hours at 2 o'clock, or you can ask during class. That wraps up today's episode. I hope you had a mental Gijigad. I'm a P.